So Tucker Carlson had on Milo Yiannopoulos, and they had a very controversial discussion. Let's look at some of that.
Starting to think that maybe it's not genetic or entirely genetic, and if it is, show me the gene. We've decoded the human genome. We can tell you where the gene for eye color comes from. Where's the gay gene? Maybe there is a gay gene, by the way. Lots of things we haven't decoded yet. Maybe it's there. Are you looking for it? Are you trying to answer this question? No. The whole game is to make you be quiet, ashamed, because it has something to do with sex. And what are you, a creep? Focused on sex? You're obsessed with gay sex. Sort of a variety. You're obsessed with Israel. Actually not. But you're way up in my face about it. And so I think it's fair to ask you a couple of very simple, straightforward questions, foundational questions like, what is this? Where does it come from? Why is it good? Why is being gay better than not being gay?
Who's saying being gay is better than not being gay?
And if it's not 100% genetic, clearly isn't. If you've had a 300% increase in 10 years, probably not genetic. Unless our genetics are changing at lightning speed. Unless evolution is a much faster process than Darwin ever reckoned. If it's not entirely genetic, then what are the other factors? And since apart from moral concerns or the concerns of human happiness, does this actually make you happy? And what does it mean to live as a gay person in the United States? What exactly does that look like? Like, what's your life like? How many people do you have sex with? How are those unfair questions? Since you're the one throwing it in my face and telling me I'm not allowed to be against it, maybe I'm allowed to ask the questions I don't really want to ask, don't really want to know the answers to. But since you've made it the North Star of our moral system in the United States, since you're willing to starve an African country because they disagree with it, maybe it's time for me to ask those questions because you push me to.
Wow, I had to look it up. I didn't know that we stopped helping Uganda because of their laws regarding gay people. I didn't know that.
On this and a lot of other issues, if you just back off a little bit, if we could just return to the status quo of, say, 1985, where, yeah, they're gay people, they're great, they're off, whatever, they're here, they're there, whatever, but they're not pushing gay sex on my kids in school.
Why go all the way back to the 80s? The 90s and the 2000s didn't do this either. It took until, after 2015 or so for this to start happening.
That's clearly not a good idea. Tell me why it is a good idea. And of course, it's a crime to intentionally infect someone with an infectious disease. And of course,
yeah, places like California reduce the penalty for knowingly infecting someone with HIV.
It's, in fact, the hallmark of civilization to make rape illegal, gay or straight. What?
Agreed.
But since you blew up all those previous assumptions and now made them illegal, Uganda, made this crime punishable by death. You made their law punishable by famine. So who's more serious about it? You are.
I mean, well, I see them both as being pretty serious about it.
Since you did all of that, how about we just slowly, in a non-hysterical, obviously non-hateful way, ask, what are we looking at? Why are you gay? Why is that a good thing? What is it exactly?
Being gay isn't a good or a bad thing. It just is.
And there are a lot of people we could ask about this, but we thought, believe it or not, the most articulate person we know to answer these questions is Milo Yiannopoulos, who was very famous 10 years ago as what was he called? Conservative provocateur, running around the country making the case against liberals as an open, in fact, flamboyant gay man. And that was part of the shtick, right? It's like, we've got a gay guy too. What are you going to say now?
Well, yeah, I mean, he has been kind of a token gay of the right.
We've got black conservatives too. You can't call us racist. We've got a gay conservative. You can't call us homophobes. And so Milo was unleashed on the world. And then in literally one day, he was canceled, really destroyed as a person in a sort of non-scandal that, like so many of that period and of this period, sort of took him right off the stage. You never heard from him again. But during the period when he was flitting around America on his dangerous faggot tour, spreading whatever it was, libertarian economics or something to the kids, it became obvious that this guy was actually really smart. You know, even for those of us who were never that interested in the dangerous faggot part of it, if you listen, you thought, well, this guy's not dumb at all. He's actually very thoughtful. Very thoughtful, high IQ guy who thinks about things. So over the last couple of years during text conversations, I became aware that Milo had decided that he didn't want to be gay anymore. I thought, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know you could decide you didn't want to be gay. And then you read about it and it turns out there's a whole industry movement and laws designed to prevent you from deciding not to be gay. Huh?
Well, if we're going to define sexual orientation as the people that you are, the sex that you are attracted to, that you want to have sex with, then that's not something you can really change. I mean, you can expand it, but you're not going to just, I no longer want to have attractions to men anymore. No, that doesn't work.
Parts of the United States have banned conversion therapies. You're not allowed to talk to a psychiatrist about not having same-sex attraction. Wow. What is that?
I don't think conversion therapy should be banned, but I also don't think you should put a child through it, especially if it's religious-oriented, where you put the threat of going to hell into their minds over it. I don't think you should be able to do that. But if you're an adult, you're over 18, yeah, you should be able to do that if you want.
It's like once you're in, you can't get out. It's like mandatory gayness. What the hell are we looking at? And so it seemed worth a sit-down conversation with Milo Yiannopoulos and just ask him sincere questions like, what is this? Why did you decide to change? What's it like changing? What does it mean to be gay in the United States specifically?
Milo isn't from the United States.
And so that conversation follows, and we hope you enjoy it.
So here the actual discussion begins.
You're really nice to do this. I'm glad you came. I want to begin with...
the only person that have me on. I'm joking.
No, I'm actually really interested. I'm interested in this topic. I've never been interested in it, but I want to begin by asking
you... It's icky, isn't it? It's icky.
Well, sort of and personal, but, it's occurred to me, particularly when I have interviewed Republican politicians, particularly neocons over the years.
Homosexuality comes to mind.
I've always wanted to say, in a Ugandan accent, are you gay?
Why are you gay?
So let me ask, are you gay? Were you gay? Like, what is gay?
Nobody's gay. Nobody's gay.
So let's hear him explain how nobody's gay. Let's hear this.
After that clip, which is the best thing on the internet, he changes the question, the interrogative to a declarative. He says, why are you gay? And she starts, it starts talking. He says, you are gay. It becomes a statement. And this is where he goes, this is where he loses me because nobody is gay. We've been encouraged to think of this. It's an icky subject. Like straight men don't want to think about.
No, it's okay.
That.
I mean, it's reached the...
But you invited me.
Well, I invited you because I have not wanted to be engaged with the topic at all. I don't have super strong personal feelings about it, but all of a sudden, it has become like a defining fact of the West that we have a huge gay population.
Exporting
like, what does that
sodomy,
mean? But no one wants to talk about
giving aid with strings attached. So I'm trying to what metaphor am I reaching for? Strings attached. Yes, you can, but only if you have a gay pride festival.
That's not what's being demanded. Come on now.
Right.
What is that? Yes,
exactly. What is that?
Yes, it has been, and all of these things, and with the collapse in people identifying as trans, you're beginning to now see what some of us have always known about homosexuality, which is that this is a product. I mean, there are some people, obviously, who were probably always going to be gay. Tammy Bruce. But like maybe she might be the only real lesbian. She might be the only real lesbian. I believe when Tammy Bruce tells me that she was only ever into women, I believe her.
Yes.
And I like her, by the way. I think she's great. But she's like the only real lesbian. With gay men, which is completely different, we see the numbers go up, the numbers go down. This is not without some change in environmental factors. This doesn't make sense if we believe the old lie, born this way. If we believe what was in fact invented in the 1980s as a public relations strategy, born this way. So what happened back in the days? Gays were in the 80s and with AIDS and all the rest of it, wanting to be out and proud and to wear their sins on their sleeves.
Oh boy, so it's a religious perspective. They're sins. All right, buddy.
And somebody came up with this idea, which caught on and worked. It was twofold. One is, well, what if we say that being gay is like being black or being a woman?
Yes.
Then they're a bigot. We're not weird. And so it takes the religious, the moral majority's sinful lifestyle choice argument, and it screws them, because now they're saying, like, you're wrong to be a girl or you're wrong to be black.
Exactly.
It was invented wholesale by the activists in the 1980s.
And now I'm wondering how Milo defines gay in the first place. Is he one of the people now looking at it from a religious perspective where homosexuality is a sex act rather than an attraction? I mean, what is he doing? What is he saying?
And the second part of it was, and this is in a book called After the Ball, which is kind of defined how gay activists were going to, well, it was very influential because it was really the book that told gay activists how to get this revolting sin that most people don't even want to think about.
Revolting sin. All right. So so he's a self-hating gay person. Great. Just like I thought he was before, but and I'm watching this, I've not watched any of this footage until I'm making this response video. So I'm just kind of disappointed that he's taken that route.
Up front and center, family friendly, and ultimately to the state where we let them adopt children, which is a whole thing we'll get into.
So he's even against that. All righty, buddy. All right there.
And that was, don't talk about bodily functions. Don't talk about effluvia. Just talk about love. Just talk about love. Talk about it in terms of love, like love is love, love wins. And we see this to the present day. Never talk about, the stains on the sheets, the promiscuity, the drugs, the glory holes in Berlin nightclubs. Never talk about any of those things, because those things will repel women. And you need moms with gay sons to affirm their homosexuality.
Again, I'm kind of curious how he defines homosexuality.
And so what is that homosexuality? Long answer for a short question, I understand. In almost every case, and certainly in every male case, it is a trauma response. It is not a sexuality. It is not part of what you are or who you are or a component of your personality or a function of it. It is a set of behaviors that is that emerges in people with a number of very easily identifiable common etiologies.
So he thinks it's a set of behaviors and not an attraction itself. Great.
One of them is so for instance, among Black and Jewish Americans, they report statistically significantly higher rates of homosexuality. Well, why could that be? Overbearing moms and absent dads, or in the Jewish case, nebbish fathers, and like Jewish.
If we're talking about attractions, then I guess I can somewhat agree with him here. Most gay people that I've known, and when I've looked this subject up and I look at my own experiences, a lot of gay men had either no relationship with their father, or their father died, or they had an abusive relationship with their father, or their father was just completely absent from their lives, and they might have had overbearing moms. Okay, I think this is probably true, but this is not about someone's behavior, it's about their attractions. But I don't know, maybe he'll clear this up a little later, I don't know.
My Jewish friends, I always call their marriages are like lion taming, where you have a sort of nebbish, scholarly, bookish dad and a larger-than-life mom who, one day decides she's going to be a rabbi. But, that, or in the Black community, of course, just the fatherlessness. And it's why, if we're born this way, if you don't have some other better explanation, could it be the case that there are more gays among Black and Jewish populations where something's going on here?
Well, it's harder for Black gay people to come out of the closet than in other communities because, sorry to say, but a lot of the Black community and Black culture is kind of anti-gay, particularly on the male side of things. Now, maybe some of the Black women in Black culture, maybe they're not quite as much that way, but as far as someone's peers, it's much harder for someone to come out as gay in the black community.
Why are we getting more trans and more gays and then less gays and then less? Why? Because this is, in fact, a symptom. In fact, this is a product of something. It's the result of something.
Well, this was Freud's position, which was kind of conventional wisdom for the better part of 100 years, that this was a response to the environment, and particularly to the relationship with the mother that a young boy has and a relationship with his father. I mean, this was like, people just assumed that was true when I was a kid. They were not gay haters or homophobes. That was a state of knowledge on the subject.
One of the only things Freud got right was that. And it's funny that, the way that that's actually in line with Catholic Church teaching, and now has become, now you see the terminology in the medical industry has begun to change as well, because, they now gay people are sort of saturated everywhere. Like when you get it's kind of like America, you get a whole country full of people who are very similar, but all think they're really, really individual.
That's deep. P.S. Yes, I do know what that looks like.
And sort of America's a very fagotized country in all kinds of ways. That's the technical term. You have to, if you want to know the truth about homosexuality, you've got to go to Black YouTube and listen to the girls.
How do you get to Black YouTube, by the way?
Well, it's a sort of tumbling. It's a tumbling kind of thing. You find one good video by somebody who's like, Steph Curry, you fagotized. And then. And then you'll tumble through the algorithm. I'll send you some links. I'll post some links on my Twitter, and
I don't know if I dare, but you're saying that's the more honest YouTube.
It's the only honest YouTube. It's the only honest anything. Because,
well, I mean, black male YouTube is some of the most anti-gay out of anywhere on the whole platform. Now, maybe black women are different. I haven't really looked that much into that, but black guys. My goodness, there's just a hell of a lot of homophobia within black male YouTube. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to hear what he says even some more, but that sounds kind of weird to me. I mean, maybe they're more blunt, maybe they're more honest, but they're also more homophobic that I've seen. But let's see what he has to say more.
You go past the churches and you'll see, the white homo demon stealing your man. And it's not the pastor who comes up with this stuff. It's his wife. Who's got this, who was trying to set her girlfriend up with somebody, and that was all great. But he went off with a dude, which is, which is sort of distant for them from going off with a white girl or whatever. But no, the only honest place where people will just be like, did it fagotize, and then they'll go, and then
what?
Amazing.
LeBron fagotize, and they'll go through it all. I mean, for me, the ne plus ultra of this genre would be Black China's mum. Do you know who that is?
No.
Of course you don't. You remind me of a line from Blackadder sometimes, because you have this sort of like lovely kind of like ingenue kind of thing that you do. And it's like, well, no, I don't know anything. But do you remember that line from Blackadder, like slumbering octogenarians who claim never to have heard of the Beatles?
No, but I get it.
He's talking about high court judges.
I've never actually heard of Blackadder before, so
You're kidding.
I'm actually not.
What?
I don't even know what you're talking about. But that's okay. It's not about me. I'm just trying to think.
That's how Stephen Fry and Rowan Atkinson got famous. How do you not know Blackadder?
Oh, I don't know. There are huge gaps. I'm not a knowledgeable
Sweet baby
man.
Jesus and the orphans. Well, you say this, yes. But anyway, look, so Tokyo Toni is her name. And anyway, you can Google Tokyo Toni. That's you're into black everything. Anyway, she's great. There's a whole. I mean, YouTube now. The only interesting bits of YouTube that still get views are like these black shows. They're like these massively overproduced shows with these incredibly elaborate sets, and they've got 43 people live watching. But the archives and the clips go crazy. Anyway,
Man,
So-
I've got a series of delights ahead of me.
Well, you don't have many black people on the show, so you've got me instead.
Okay.
So I'll be your African American contingent. I'll introduce you to these things. So no, I'm kidding.
So you're describing a world into which a lot of conventional propaganda has not yet filtered.
Well, it's
or
interesting.
they're resistant to it, or
It's
something.
interesting because why are you gay? Are you gay? The origin of the Born This Way I've just described, I've just explained.
Yeah.
The reality is that these communities who experience this problem a lot, right? The black community, particularly because of fatherlessness, a lot of gay black kids, there's just a lot of them, have this very blunt and truthful. I mean, look, looking at me now, it's impossible to imagine that I used to be a homosexual. But
It hadn't entered my mind.
no, but
I knew you during your flaming stage, so I had heard.
But there are so many like flaming young black men in America today, especially, and this is a problem this community is dealing with, and they don't, Black America is like commendably impervious to a lot of the woke PC language
Yes.
stuff. Like very creditably skeptical of vaccines.
Yes.
They won't go along with a lot of this stuff, like the proposition, whatever in California, gay marriage. Why? It's black women who are like holding down the fort. So I love Candace Owens so much. Like the ungovernability of black women is the only thing that might possibly save America. As embodied in our friend Candace, who is just like, she's ungovernable in the best possible way.
She's not going along with it.
She isn't, to put it mildly.
Yeah, fair, fair.
She is not going along with it. And Candace is a very beautiful, polished, intelligent, and sort of a microcosm of a trend that you see everywhere in Black America now, which is like, ain't doing that, definitely ain't doing that.
Wow.
And it's very interesting.
So black women are the ones that are promoting this stuff, and they're also the ones who are saying ain't doing that? Your stories are conflicting here.
They will be very resistant to this stuff. They kind of intuit what white people, I think, have forgotten because, we're just all so weak and demoralized and like kind of overburdened with this nonsense. The truth is that homosexuality, and in particular conversion therapy, is the first thing upon which the liberals tried what they later did to Trump, which is just this wall of fake news, misinformation, propaganda. It's the first time. I mean, there's other examples like around wars and things like that, but when it comes to social issues, it's the first time I think the press just says, "Oh hell no!" Well, except they didn't do that because they're white. But they just, sometimes I lose the characters, get confused. So I'm gonna put Rwanda away. No, so the first time that the media decides this is a social issue we care about enough because we don't lose our gay friends, that we're going to just lie and demonize and give the full fake news treatment that we later saw in its most sophisticated form, leveraged, praise God, unsuccessfully against Trump again and again and again, right? So they start off with this, you were born this way, honey, you are born this way, honey, you are beautiful, whatever you are. No, you're like that because you got raped by a priest. Or you're like that because your mom was overbearing and your dad wasn't around. Or you're like that because you failed to form a platonic, stable attachments to other men as a child. For some reason, maybe you didn't have a good male role model or whatever, but there is a relatively small number of identifiable and repeated etiologies that mark somebody out as being, vulnerable to this.
Well, there's also the messaging that comes from a lot of feminists, but from a lot of women in general, that they don't like being objectified, even in appropriate situations. They don't like being objectified, that if you show that you're attracted to women in public, you're a toxic person, that it's bad, that you shouldn't do that you shouldn't show that you're attracted. I mean, when it comes to what people expect out of gay men, they can show attractions all they want. They can even borderline sexually harass another guy, and that's seen as fine and accepted. But if, you can, guys or women can wolf whistle and cat call men, and that's not seen as a problem. But no matter what the situation is, if a guy cat calls or wolf whistles to a woman, that's really bad. And so people get taught that these attractions themselves to women are bad. It's why you so often find gay men they're not just not attracted to women and their biology, they're grossed out by it. There are the gold star gays out there who are proud that they've never been with women, right? And yet, some of these same people who are disgusted by women's genitalia are rabid feminists. So there's often a very much a dislike of straight male sexuality that gets taught. And anyone who has that kind of view of straight male sexuality is probably not straight.
And you look into the histories of gay people, they'll all deny it. They're saying, no, that's just me. But it's not. And they know, because I knew and they know. And I talk to them privately when there's no cameras there. I could squeeze it out of them eventually that you get there. Yes, there's something about their sexual activity they know isn't right. And it's not just in the technical sense that the sex is sterile.
Sterile? Maybe vapid in some ways. Maybe not fulfilling in the sense that you're not going to create another living human being out of it. But sterile? I mean, how about straight guys who use condoms? I don't know. It's sterile?
And therefore can never be part of the holy sacrament of marriage because it can't be co-procreation with God, right?
Oh, boy. So the religious angle again. Great.
Yes.
Co-procreation with God, meaning, you make a physical body with your wife, but then God puts a soul in.
Right.
And that's why it's the most precious sacrament because, you do the others, you do your confirmation, all the rest of it, but it's leading up to you getting to make something with God. Right? Which is the real reason that Lucifer's so mad and because the angels can't do that, right?
The devil's angry. Look out. Look out, everyone.
The angels don't get to participate in creation with our Lord.
There's no such thing as angels. There's no such thing as the devil. And God is imaginary. But whatever.
But every single human being does.
And you feel that too when you have kids. Even if you don't know what it is, you feel there's something supernatural going on here.
This is going to sound completely pathetic, but I have some kind of pathetic simulacrum of it. Now I've become a cat dad, just in the terms of like caring for something helpless.
Yes.
And it's bringing out of me something that I know is going to lead to fatherhood because I'm responsible for this being that loves and laughs and they do, and requires regular, not just maintenance, but affection and to be tended to and loved. Like I love dogs. I used to be more of a dog guy, but I live in a house on the National Register of Historic Places, so I can't have dogs. I got a cat one day, just because somebody found it in an engine. And I was like, I'm so alone. So I said, sure, give me a damn kitten. And at that point, I wasn't sure I was going to drown it, wear it, or nurture it. But I was just like, oh, okay. And being responsible for shaping the personality, which anybody who has animals, who loves animals, knows that is 100% real.
If you feel this way, then why are you against gay adoption?
Responsible for shaping the personality, nurturing that being into either being a parent itself or just into being a companion or to being the best that it can be, right? It's bringing something out in me, that wasn't present when I was having a lot of what most people would regard as, what homosexuals would regard as very desirable kind of sex, with a particular kind of person or whatever.
Well, just because you didn't have meaningful relationships with people doesn't mean that every gay person is going to do the same thing that you did. Being gay doesn't have to mean just meaningless, vapid sex with dozens and dozens of people. That's not what being gay is. Maybe that's what it was for you, but that's not what it is for everyone.
So you get to the base of it, and you get to the heart of it if you're sort of one-on-one with a gay. But they won't just talk about the emptiness of their life or the fact that the sex is sterile or whatever. They will know that there's something not quite right, and
that its origin is there at something that was not quite right.
Have you ever been addicted to anything?
Oh yeah,
okay,
big time.
So there's that moment when your mind is flooded, and it's all you can think about.
Yes,
and it's all that you can. You got to get it out, because if you don't do a line or have a smoke or do something, if you don't get it out, it's just going to be all that you can think about for the rest of the day. It's just driving you crazy because it floods your mind.
Yeah.
I've been addicted to one or two little things, and I realized my sex worked the same way.
Yeah, I believe that.
I realized that when I was on a plane.
So you're basically admitting that for you, sex was an addiction. Well, it isn't that way for everyone, just saying.
I'm sitting down, hey, Team 1A, I'm sitting on the plane. I'm like, yeah, I'll have a gin and tonic, girl. And then, like a basketball player, well, not a basketball player, they're all gay nerds, but like a football player would sit next to me. Like it would take hold of me. There were times I had to like go to the bathroom and like,
Yeah.
Because I had to get rid of it because it was taking hold of my mind.
It sounds like a demon.
Yeah, because it's what it is.
A demon. Okay, buddy.
I joke, I say Gorgoroth, the semen demon. He comes out. Well, he doesn't visit me very often anymore. But it's like,
totally real. I mean, that stuff is all real.
But I realized that.
Oh, come on, Tucker, really?
So I don't do cocaine anymore, but it'll shock people to learn I used to be a bit of a cokehead. When I was, that rush of dopamine,
yep,
the rituals associated with it as well, I was like, oh my God, that's how I feel about sex. And that can't be right. It can't be right.
No, it's literally, I'm not just talking about gay sex, but that is literally a perversion.
Yes.
And
it is a demon. And it's also other things too, because these things go hand in hand.
May I ask how, in your own, if it's not too personal, how did you wind up?
We're there now, aren't we?
Okay, I think we are. No, but
I just told you I wanked on UA 1722. I cracked one out in the bathroom. And people are never going to sit next to me on planes again. I think we're good.
Anyone who's ever been, I drank alcohol in the morning. I mean, anyone who's ever been possessed.
Please, I'm British. That doesn't count.
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
Give me a real one.
Anyone who's ever been possessed by an obsession knows that it can totally destroy your behavior. But we spend so much time talking in our society about, gay, and it's all good, of course. Gay is good and gay rights are good. In fact, they're the marker of human rights. They're the only human right, really. But
what do you mean the only human right?
But it is the only human right people still care about.
Oh,
your right to be sodomized, your right to wake up in the morning, and you're like, oh, okay, you're ready to go, are you? And hear that voice in your mind, and it's not a sultry voice, it's not a sexy voice, it's go and get it. It's it's like it's Gorgoroth. Anyway, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
boy, that's dark. I've thankfully never. It's one of the few problems I don't have, but I get it.
That's why Grindr's so dangerous. It's just like within 20 minutes they can be in the living room.
I guess I know what he's saying, and I don't participate in that personally. But that's not what being gay means. Being gay doesn't mean being addicted to sex. It doesn't mean that you're obsessed with sex. It doesn't mean that you use apps to hook up with people for meaningless sex. That's not what being gay means. And to put everyone in that category is not fair.
I want to ask you about that. But first, let me ask about your own life, because you never get to ask, everyone's telling you how proud they are to be gay, and that's great.
Well, people aren't really proud to be gay. They're proud to have been able to stand up against oppressive views.
And all that, but...
It's a sin, by the way. Pride is a sin?
Well, I agree with that. But...
Because I guess it's all about religion with Milo.
You never get to ask, how did you start being gay? Get specifically describe with,
the way I remember
in a PG way, right?
If you insist. No, the way I remember, we've done enough, I know. The way I remember it is I just did it to piss off my mother, but that's not true. I think that's self-mythologization. You know, like I did take a lot of drug dealers home when I was.
Were you close to your mom?
When I was in high school, she married. So I'll answer your question. I'll skip back first. Let me do that first. So my dad was in organized crime. Funny, charismatic, brilliant. There are things about like maybe Alex Jones that remind me of him a little bit. Just in that kind of like, just in manner, you know, like a bit of a bruiser, but with the heart, you know, like he's a bad guy with a heart of gold.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like,
I've known a few.
Yeah. No, like I cleave to that kind of personality. It reminds me a little bit of the good bits of my dad, right? But there was another section which Alex does not have, which was that, you know, he was a bad guy, and I saw him do really bad things to people. I would come down. I told this story before, but I would come down. Sometimes the kitchen door would be closed, and I would hear, you know, Nikki, I'm giving up a life of crime. I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm not going to do anything that's going to give me any more than 18 months. You know, it's funny, but
it's all about goals, Milo.
Yeah, but he was a bad guy, and I saw him do things that really frightened me. And you know, he was in pubs and nightclubs in a you know, running the clubs and the security, and sort of like, you know, he's gone now, so I can say it, laundering millions, you know,
yeah.
Like, blah, blah. Between those two, you know, like these security guards are on $120 an hour, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, officer. Oh yeah. Aren't you? Tell him what you're on. It's like 120, you know. Yeah. So he used to let me sit in the booth and like do the stamps. And I would watch people go in, and I'd watch the behaviors of like low socioeconomic, white, working class, like in their 20s, just drinking and effing, you know. And then I saw some of the things my dad did. And they would start with that joke. They'd start with that very charming joke. They'd start with that alluring joke. And my dad had like a degree my dad had a master's in fine art. He was a great sculptor and painter. But that was the charming bit of him. The dark bit was, you know, like he would say to people, can I use bad language on this show?
Yes, you may.
Because you can bleep it. But my dad would say like, listen, just because you're in a wheelchair, don't give you the right to be a cunt. And he would grab the wheelchair, spin it around, and like walk people up to you know, like to parking lot edges and stuff like that. And I'm sitting in the car like, you know, or he'd go collecting, yeah, which means protection rackets. And he would, you know, I would overhear like, Julian, can you take your glasses off, please? It's like, I don't want to get glass in my finger when I poke your fucking eye out. You know, like, it's very charming, very funny, like very Tony Soprano kind of like that kind of ilk, you know. But I saw some of it, and I think maybe somewhere in my head I was like, yeah, if that's being a man, I think I'm out. You know, because I was a child, I was frightened.
Yeah, if someone as a child gets in their head that this is what it's supposed to mean to be a man, you know, you might think, yeah, I don't want to be like that. Now, that doesn't mean they've made a choice to be attracted to men, but that's the point where you say, yeah, I don't want to be like that, right? So I get what he's saying here.
And then my mother left him and married a new guy, and he was very like, he's sort of a nice guy now, but he would go through all my stuff. Like if I had papers, you know, if I was reading something for school or whatever, he would like, when I was out, go through every page and just sort of leave it like this. It's just that I knew that he'd been in there, you know? And that kind of like invasive, like just horrifying, like, you know, it was just for a very sensitive autistic child like me, you know, already on my way then, you know, having had a much larger than life grandmother who was like, you know, egging this stuff on. And by this time I had had some sexual interactions with a Roman Catholic priest who's dead now, has been dead for a long time, but that had obviously, you know, that fed into it as well.
Wait, stop. That obviously fed into right. Well, if you're being molested, yeah.
Well, yeah. Also the molestation. No, but really for me, this is why it's important to do the other stuff first before you get. Oh, and I was raped by a priest. But this sort of psychological torture, as I experienced it, was, you know, sort of like, so I had no private space anywhere, and I knew that all the men in my life were just not things I wanted to become.
Yes.
And then I cast my, see if you let me get to it. Then I cast my my mind back to a lovely old rich man in a frock, Father Michael, and I who had not been like that with me. And one of the things that got me into trouble 10 years ago was when I said I felt like kind of the aggressor in that situation. I didn't know what bad stuff it had done to me, and at that time I didn't. I made a couple of jokes that got GOP Inc. Hot and bothered because they're all faggots. And they weren't happy about some of the truths that we're talking about today kind of toppling out, And so these things combined, having what I perceived to be at that time, I perceived as a child to be consensual sexual experiences with an older man who was a kindly sweetheart, He was, I think of him now as a harmless old queen, Of course, what he was doing was not harmless.
Well, you have a right to any opinion you want about the experiences that happened to you.
Well, apparently not. I've been retired for some time as a result.
Well, I continue to believe that people are allowed to formulate their own opinions about their own lives.
I think you should be able to talk about your rape however you like.
I agree with that.
And not necessarily have to go on live international television and apologize for it like I did, but I'm not bitter.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you, but you've certainly changed your interpretation of it several times in public, so...
Unfortunately, I carved out a much... I have a new kind of career and a new life now that I much prefer, which is more satisfying, lucrative, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about it later. So I haven't gone crazy like so many of my friends.
Yes.
And it's funny watching them because I see some of in the way that their personalities have become kind of empty and sharded and become filled with wickedness, I see some of the things that I have been working over the last 10 years to get away from that created this sexual behavior. They've become faggotized.
Well, there does seem to be a connection, but it does. The incidence of closeted homosexuality on the right is like overwhelming. It's like way above what you would imagine is statistically probable.
3 straight guys on the right. It's like Alex, you, and I have a floating wild card just in case I forgot anybody. Who else is there? Who else is there? I mean, maybe the Tates, but who else is there?
What is that?
Well, I wouldn't even say the Tates, honestly.
I don't understand.
There's such a long relationship, a long happy marriage between conservative politics and homosexuality, and it's easy to joke about it and say, "Oh, it's all of the bells and smells and frocks of the religious dimension to it all, or it's the pomp and circumstance of power." But
the New Testament is really tough on homosexuality, so I don't see it as certainly not a Christian thing.
It's not a Christian thing.
The New Testament isn't that hard on homosexuality. It's the Old Testament that is. So I don't know what he means there.
But of course, it's easy to understand with the sort of obscene, obese heresies of the type that obtain in this country. I mean, in a country where the prosperity gospel can thrive.
You're right.
Who would be surprised, right? It's not an authentic faith as we would know it. I sometimes tease you about your denomination, but Episcopalian Church is as close to us as it's possible to get, and was designed to be a mirror to High Anglicanism, which was indistinguishable from Catholicism. And at its best, it's a very similar creed, and with a very similar style and similar beliefs,
Yeah.
So, but as soon as you wander away from that in America, it's just like mental.
So, but what is, and I'm not attacking anybody, and I never want to out people because I don't, it's not my business, right? I've never done it. And maybe.
I live to out people. I live to out people. On which subject? Cory Booker. Did you see?
But what is that? Why is it so common on the right? Well, of course, on the left too, but on the right with closeted gays. Like, I don't get that.
It's an interesting question I've never heard a really good answer to.
Well, that's easy. The right wing has the most percentage of anti-gay attitudes out of the political sides. I mean, come on, that goes without saying.
I'll be honest with you. I suppose I should have a good answer to that, but I don't. And I think if it's about anything, it's about the exercise of power over others.
Yes.
Because
I feel that. I have no idea exactly why that's true, but I feel that's true.
What's the worst thing about magic? It's not that you can turn a person into a frog, or you can make yourself look more beautiful, or you can whatever. What's the worst thing about magic is that it robs others of agency, that you can make them do things they don't want to do. The worst and most sinister bit of magic is that you can trick someone or compel someone against their will to fall in love with you, or to throw themselves off a cliff.
It's a kind of slavery. Yeah,
exactly. The most frightening thing about magic is its ability to compel the wills of others.
Yes,
right. And that's what I think homosexuals are seeking because they feel so powerless in their own lives and have this understanding that they are broken people without agency over their own sex lives, over their bodies, over that down there. Like, I don't even have control over me, but I'm damn well going to have control over you. Like, that's, I think, a lot of it. And so if you dovetail that in with the more,
I know you're telling the truth here. I don't fully understand what you're saying, but it comports with a lot of what I've seen.
I feel as though if you are a person who intuits that you have a lack of control, of power, of agency over your own drives, your own desires, your own urges, and even your biological, anatomical, your physical responses. Like,
I mean, the only reason why you'd feel that you don't have control of that is because you've suppressed it. And the reason for suppressing it is often from the viewpoints that come from the right. So, I don't know, this is weird.
I can't stop getting aroused by men. What is that?
It's called your sexual orientation.
You're going to want to exercise power elsewhere over others.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And being sucked into the nexus of intersectional blah, 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 you're going to be tempted by explicit magic as well as...
There's no such thing as magic. How does he define magic then? What in the world is he talking about? He went on about magic for a while, and now he's mentioning it again. What does he even think it means? Does he really think magic is real?
The implicit magic of whatever. And so, dovetail that with right-wing authoritarianism and
Yet you position yourself on the right, and now you're demonizing your own urges because of the right. And yeah, that's just weird, Milo.
I have to say, I'm sorry to say it, I must say it, some dimensions, in some respects, I can see that might be something that attracts homosexuals to the Catholic Church, for instance.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Just the illusion of being a bishop. I mean,
or National Review magazine.
Well,
which is
just save me. It's all right. I'm happy to talk about the Catholic element of it. I mean, the bishops are all faggots. I mean, they're all whoopsies. They're all
whoopsies.
Gays. I like that one. It contains within it a kernel of the sort of slapstick that I think we have to. One of the ways I got myself off it was imagining myself in that situation as ridiculous. Like, I can't even perceive that I would do something so ridiculous. Like, laughing at it became, because laughter's the death of arousal, right?
I totally agree.
So I read or something like that went off in the back of my head.
Anyone who's ever been laughed at naked can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, never have, but
I haven't either.
I tell you, no, but I mean, I think it's a famous like British, particularly a British like injunction, that laughter is the death of arousal or whatever, And I just thought, okay, well, how about if I start thinking about it as ridiculous? Because it is ridiculous. I mean, like, you and the football team, like, it's ridiculous. And so that's one of the ways I got myself about it. But no, this
that is so true.
Seeing themselves as powerless even to control their own bodies, and knowing on some level, I think homosexuals seek out those places.
Maybe if there wasn't so much hate against them, they wouldn't feel that way, but they're not willing to drop the right. They'll just continue with these beliefs that are against their existence. So yeah, they're going to feel kind of powerless. And you've done the same thing. You're giving into beliefs that are against your existence. And then you try to claim, oh, but I'm not really gay. Yeah, sure, buddy, sure.
You see on the left
this is why you might want to bomb Iran and Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah, bomb,
rock.
bomb, 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 bomb. What's gayer? What's gayer? I'm not saying he was a practicing homosexual physically, but is there anything gayer than John McCain's like bloodlust? Seen through
agree.
this, seen
or
through
his proteges. No.
seen through this prism. I mean, he's even got the fat friend. It's his daughter. Like he even bred the fat best friend. Like is there a more ostentatious like fag hag in America than Meghan McCain? She hates herself. She's fat. She's crazy. She's every gay man's dream. She can't dress. She's
Why is that every gay man's dream?
because they want to visit upon their female friends the cruelty they wish that they could perform on their mothers.
What?
Whoa.
They want to make her feel fat and ugly and ridiculous because that's what their mother did to them. And there was no dad around to protect them, and their mother was just this overbearing, terrible, sort of the Jungian devouring mother.
All of this has been banned in the United States, so I don't even think people are familiar with these concepts anymore.
Right. So I'll try to keep it simple. Imagine like a female like Lutheran pastor or a female Jewish rabbi, and they're this like, hey, it's great to grieve. Like, that's for a TV show, but just like one of those, right? There's this horrible, overbearing monstrousness that on some level the homosexual knows is what's made him like this.
Well, I guess I just can't relate with that one because my mother has been a very loving person and accepting and tolerant and all of that. My grandmother, on the other hand, was pretty abusive. And I grew up with my mother and grandmother. And so maybe I'm thinking about, maybe I should think about my grandmother in this context some more. But I can't see me wanting to be like my grandmother at all. So, I mean, maybe this is what Milo went through, but it's definitely not what I went through, and it's not what a number of other gay people that I know went through, but I mean, maybe it's a thing. I don't know.
Because dad wasn't around, so mom did it, right? This is what, by the way, this is why trans was so popular, because it got parents off the hook. If you've got a gay kid, you did something, but if your kid has a disease and was born into the wrong body, well, that's not your fault, is it? And you get all this sympathy and, all your friends are like, oh, you got a trans kid, how tough for you? No, you got a faggot because you raised a faggot because you're a terrible parent.
I don't agree with this. I think that someone not having a good father figure can cause some of this sort of thing, but just this notion that someone is a bad parent, they're a bad mother if their kid turns out gay? No, man, that's terrible. That's a terrible view.
That's what's really going on. They want to avoid that. So instead, no, I'm going to chop its ding-dong off and say it's got a disease. Like, that's why it was so popular with single moms.
Amazing.
Amazing. That's why trans was so popular with single moms. Because it got them off the hook. It means they didn't turn their son gay when they know they did. They know they did. They know they did. And the sons know they did. And the sons grow up being cruel to women.
Look, I'll say this. There are a lot of gay men that are cruel to women. There's a lot of misogynistic gay men out there. They will find the most conniving and petty and just downright mean things to say about women. And yet they'll top it off by trying to claim that they're feminists, right? So, I mean, yeah, those people do exist. I didn't hang around those groups most of the time. But they're also the same people who would say about women, ew, icky vagina, you're a fish, and that sort of thing. Just almost a hatred of women to some degree. Like I said, a kind of misogyny of some sort. But I don't know whether it stems from what Milo is saying here. So, I don't know. I'd have to think about it more.
Because of what mom did to them.
So they're hostile toward their moms, even though many gay men I've known have had very
this close relationship.
Right.
But it's a toxicity. It's a codependent relationship that they know is they can't. So sometimes they can't visit this cruelty on their mom because they have this close relationship with their mom, but they do it on other women. It's redirected, right? It's transferred onto other women.
I mean, I suppose there is a bit of codependency with my relationship with my mother. I guess there's a bit of a codependency there. But I haven't really seen the cruelty that he's talking about with my mother. And I haven't seen the cruelty with a lot of other gay men that I've known about their mothers. So I don't know. But I do see some codependency. But that doesn't equate to cruelty.
Because they love, mommy, like, what would I do without my mom? But so on some level, they know that she did that. She did that. So they force women into ever more uncomfortable and ever uglier outfits and throw them down runways on, in 10-inch heels, or they,
what? So you think the fashion industry is acting this out?
Of course it is. I mean, what other explanation could there be for the intolerable ugliness of the catwalk?
I guess I can see what he's saying, but there are a lot of gay people who just like outrageous fashion. That's just their thing. So, I mean, I guess this could be the case with some people, but for others, they just love outrageous things. And they want to spread those outrageous things. You know, saying that they want to do it to hurt women is weird to me. That's weird.
You are blowing my mind on so many levels. I can't even.
I mean, sure, we used to have, when society was working properly, you would go. Have you ever seen Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris?
No.
It's a lovely movie about a char lady,
housekeeper.
Yes, housekeeper. Yes, to Americans. Yeah. See, I don't know charwoman, and you've never seen Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Who dreams of one day owning a couture Dior dress like the person that she works for, right? And she saves up, and there's calamities with her money, and some boyfriend, whatever. And eventually, she manages to go to Paris, and she manages to get the dress, right? And when society was properly ordered, there were these aspirational beauty standards and these aspirational lifestyle goals that included gorgeous tailoring and beautiful silhouettes for women that accentuated their gorgeous characters. It's not like that now, is it?
Well, it's been that way for many, many decades. And it's gotten more and more outrageous. And it's not just women that are on the catwalk. There's men too. Do they hate those men too? This doesn't fully make sense.
Not like that now?
No, and it's funny. I don't know really anything about fashion, but I love female beauty, of course.
But you don't see any of it on the catwalk now.
Exactly. In fact, you see
the opposite.
You see the opposite. You see manufactured ugliness.
Gay men turning women into the demons they see themselves as.
No, that's just your religious thinking getting in the way. Thinking them as demons, just that whole mindset of, oh, I'm a demon. And no, you'd only think that if you let religion get to you. And you, Milo, have let religion get to you. You hate yourself because of your religion. Good job.
You see gay. Look at the most celebrated woman on the stage at the moment is the Gorgon opposite Ariana Grande, whose name I forget now. This Nosferatu, like black Nosferatu, who seems to be sucking the life force out of poor Ariana, who's I think going to die within the next few weeks.
I was thinking of making a video about Ariana Grande and how sickly she looks now, but most of it has to do with her vegan diet. And Erivo is a vegan as well, to my knowledge, and she just sort of encourages that. But she's starting to look like Eugenia Cooney, the anorexic girl influencer, right? I blame most of it on veganism. There have been people who have died because of their vegan diets, and if you ask people who have asked Ariana Grande, You know, they've mentioned you looked so much healthier before. She goes, oh no, I was so unhealthy. I ate all this unhealthy stuff and was on antidepressants. And it's like, well, congrats that you're not on antidepressants. But if this is the cost, you looking like I mean, she looks really sick now. And it just keeps getting worse. So anyway, I guess I've went off subject a bit too much. I mean, Milo mentioned her, but I didn't have to go on about it.
If you've seen that singer's physique lately, she sort of. But this appalling apparition, Cynthia or something, I think. Of course, she's called Cynthia. With these claws. And you look at the silhouette and you're like, that's literally Nosferatu.
That's such a silly way to think about it.
It's literally Nosferatu. And I know a gay man did that.
Erivo is a woman.
And of course, a gay man then put her on stage in Jesus Christ Superstar as our Lord. Did you know that?
No.
You've seen the person I'm talking about, right?
No.
Okay. Well, you'll Google it later. But it's this spindly, it's just straight up goblin looking black woman. Like, and I I'm not trying to have like a,
Cynthia Erivo could be pretty if she had eyebrows and hair and didn't have a terrible fashion sense.
A Roseanne moment, although she was right. Whatever. But this woman is like ugly by any racial stage. Just monstrous looking, right? Just.
Well, I mean, you're one of the people who says really cruel things about women. So I guess earlier you were talking about yourself.
What our mothers might have called deeply unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Practically circus level. And of course, she's the heroine of the $1 billion franchise now, Wicked, and she's on stage as Jesus, which.
So it's an act of hostility, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And so these gay men who feel the will of Gorgoroth inside them is like, do it, and who go turn these women into the demons they see inside themselves.
You're blaming gay men for the way that Cynthia Erivo looks? Come on, man. She has her own sense of style, which it's not a very good sense of style. But you're blaming gay men for that? How?
The demons they see acting on.
This is a lot deeper than I expected when I texted you to have this conversation.
It's more than you would imagine from a guy wearing this t-shirt.
No, it's not actually. And by the way, can I say one thing that's bothered me for years? When I was a child, there was a lot of creativity coming from gay men in the United States. Like
It's all gone now.
I know.
And it's Dave Rubin is responsible. Not him personally, but I mean like.
But do you know what I'm talking about? I mean,
of course. And why? Because
a lot of free thinking, and I was related to one of them, and I spent a lot of time in my house, lived in my house when I was a kid, and gay, died of AIDS, and had a lot of problems. But I will say, creative, free thinking, like truly free thinking. Gore Vidal was like the archetype.
This is Burkean.
There are no Gore Vidals in gay world that I'm aware of. They're all like conformists and supporting the man. Like what?
Well, the only ones these days are ex-gay.
But do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and it's Burkean.
I'll agree with that. The creativity from the gay community, from gay men, seems to have dwindled to a great degree. They think that having outrageous appearances makes up for a lack of creativity. Some people, they make comments about my nose ring and say that that's the same sort of thing. And I'm just like, look, as I've said before, I've had my septum pierced since 1995. I only took it out in 2021 because people complained about it too much. And then I recently decided to put it back in. But, the same time, though, I can say this: I haven't felt as creative as I used to be, but I'm getting old. I mean, I'm 52. But I've noticed that there seems to be less creativity in the gay community than there used to be. It's all kind of a false front. Now, I think part of that problem stems from so much of gay culture has become mainstream. And so once it becomes mainstream and you're pushing for the mainstream, well, you're no longer pushing for genuine creative thought. You're not going against the grain, you're going with the grain. So there's that.
It's because creativity arises out of order. There has to be limits. And if homosexuality is not proscribed as wretched and kept at the fringes where it belongs, creativity dies.
Well, I guess that kind of backs up what I just said. When something becomes mainstream, the things that made someone creative in the first place sort of goes away. So I guess he makes a good point there. I don't think that means we should suppress gay people again. You know, I don't think that's the direction we should go, but the LGBT community can't claim anymore to be the most creative ones.
And what do you get? Because you don't have those people playing with the limits. You don't have the taboo breakers. You don't have the artists, the creatives living at the limits of society. They're brought instead. And I
think the gay community such as this is one of the least creative, most conformist elements of our society. I never thought I would say that.
They've become the enforcers, just like...
They're the enforcers. They're the Praetorian Guard for Apple and Microsoft. Like, what the hell?
Just like the...
Man, that's so true. I don't want it to be true, but it's true.
White women of folklore who, are
yes.
responsible for all evil, but they become like turbocharged Karens, and it's the white women who welcome in the white single moms typically, but single moms generally, I think, who bring in a drag queen story hour. Because there's no gay people like banging down the door.
That's right.
There's no gay people
so
like,
true.
Excuse me, can I come read your kids? Do you mind? Can I come read stories to your kids? Like, no, they're not. They're not. But there are demons out there who will come do it if you invite them. Because what do you have to do with demons? Open a portal, open a doorway, So
yes, I do.
These women open the doorway and in comes, 3 little pigs. But the gays now have taken this role. They've taken the mantle over from what we used to. We used to say, didn't we? We used to say white single moms are the root of all evil, like as kind of half joking because of all the crazy stuff they support. But now it's homosexuals. I have to be honest with you. I bear some responsibility for this because it was me 10 years ago mainstreaming homosexuality into the Republican Party. It's the great regret of my life. More so than anything I've done to my own soul.
Why would you regret that? Or is it because you think LGBT people should be suppressed and should be treated like crap and should be on the edges of society so they'll be more creative again? Is that your thing? I don't know. I'll know in a moment when you continue to go on.
Which is a lot. It's the great regret of my life. Because it has given rise to horrors I never imagined. Let me say, Lenin said, all revolutionaries come to hate their children. Well, the gay horrors that I've given birth to, Lady Marga, Nick Fuentes, they keep me up at night.
What do MAGA and Nick Fuentes have anything to do with any of this?
Why'd you mention Dave Rubin? What's his role?
Well, because he is at the vanguard, along with another of other gays in public life, of introducing children into the equation, because it's when you do what I did, which is like gays just like everyone else, you be a normal gay. I remember, and this is the thing I regret more than anything else in the world. There's a video of Ross Matthews in 2017 on Twitter saying, "So I came home and landscapers have been in. We're getting more citrus. You can never have too much citrus." And people were asking me, "Ross, what do you think about this Milo guy?" And I'm like, Milo, how low can you go? I don't know who this person is, but I read it. And he says, "I'm getting letters." This Milo guy, he's resigning from Breitbart or something. And he says, "I'm getting letters from people who say, you make it okay that I have a gay son because if he grows up, he doesn't have to be like Ross Matthews." And I was like, no, they should be like Ross Matthews. They should be like Ross Matthews. They shouldn't be like Dave Rubin, like you might not even know unless you watched him for a little bit.
So you're against the notion of gays that can assimilate into society well? You're against that?
Because this domesticity of homosexuals has killed all the things that were good about gays that made them tolerable.
But you're arguing for all the things that made gay people intolerable to society. So you're not making any sense here.
And instead has given them this grotesque parody, this simulacrum of domesticity, which has, of course, in their never-ending hunger, expanded to include babies.
So it's now all about being against gay people raising kids. All right.
And now we have the Buttigieg couple buying black children.
I thought you weren't allowed to buy people. I thought...
Oh, no, you can if you're homosexual.
All right, so it's about the designer babies thing. Okay. It's not just gay people doing this. There are people of all sorts doing this. So why are you just blaming gay people for it?
But I thought that
it's called adoption or surrogacy or whatever, but you can buy them.
I thought it was called slavery.
In fact, you have to buy them because it's quite expensive.
Some online slave market, or
doesn't cover. No. It's the government. And obviously, as you know, but Dave Rubin has like Frankensperm babies. Like he mixed his effluvia with that of his husband. I mean, this is real. This is physical. Gave it a stir and hoped for the best. And like, whichever one we get. Implanted it in some highly paid woman we'll never know the name of, the real mother of those children. He and his.
Okay, so it's the surrogate mothers and the designer babies, both of those things. Okay, I can see being against those things, but I wouldn't pin it just on gay people.
Catamite are on the internet, with these signs like it's coming with these 2 dates, and I'm like, yeah, your damnation. That's the date you're counting down to. The date you're.
How is that conservative?
Oh, because it's family, you see. Because the sleight of hand like that's going on is you're like, well, gays are just like everybody else, so we should behave like everybody else, which means we should have kids. And if we can't physically have kids because our sex is this like demonic, sterile horror show, then we'll buy them and then we'll look like we've got it. I mean, that's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. And so you have I don't know if it says anything about Republicans versus Democrats, but you have like Dave Rubin, for whom buying a child is not good enough, it must be his own, like the conceit of that. So on the right, you've got this sort of techno conceit, Frankenbaby, and on the left, they adopt blacks. You've got these 2 wispy, wiry faggots who adopted 2 black babies.
The horror.
I mean, isn't Buttigieg just the most interesting character of our age? Like, I mean, he doesn't look like it. He looks like an intensely boring homosexual, like everything gay people shouldn't be. But it's so interesting, the fact that, I mean, clearly he wasn't gay, like at the beginning.
Well, he had girlfriends.
Right. So he wasn't gay, but he made himself gay.
I made that point because actually I had gay men who worked for me who were more in tune with this than me. I'm not in tune at all. I thought Peter Buttigieg was a joke, but they said, well, he's not really gay. And I was like,
no.
But what does that mean?
Well, his sexuality, like all homosexuality, is a function, a product, a symptom. What is his homosexuality a symptom of? It's of his vaulting ambition. Buttigieg timed it perfectly so that post-Obama, the gay guy with the black kids, perfect presidential candidate.
Horse shit.
So to the heterosexual brain, it's like, are you really saying a guy would switch his quote sexuality in order to get a better job?
Yeah.
That's extremely far-fetched.
Yeah. Women do it all the time. Lesbianism has got nothing to do with male homosexuality. Just look, everybody knows they got a college girlfriend who was a lesbian in college.
Yeah.
Everybody. Like, you could barely find a woman who hasn't played around with a woman. Queen Victoria didn't believe that this was sex or that 2 women would do that with one another. And she refused to accept that women even did that, very wisely, realizing that lesbianism wasn't real.
Attractions aren't real, I guess.
And so lesbianism wasn't illegal in Britain for a long time when male homosexuality was. But female sexuality is known in the studies to be far more malleable. Women go
Yes.
backwards and forwards between
That's true.
men all the time, and lesbianism is like a social and political decision. It's a series of social and political decisions. I mean, women want companionship, they want stability, they want safety. They can find that in a woman, like you can find that in a butch dyke just as easily as you can find it in an American man these days. I'm sorry, at least she can cash in her Harley Davidson. What have you got? Sorry, that leather jacket's got to go for something. That warehouse full of eyeliner you've got. I joke, but only slightly. We've seen women do it. They do it all the time. They choose to be lesbians all the time. So
you don't find it? You don't find the?
I realize it sounds extreme and implausible.
Well, to me anyway, it's like really.
But we're dealing with a sociopath here. We're dealing with somebody who's entirely divorced from his own from his own feelings. Right? We're dealing with somebody who will do anything, go anywhere, be anything. I mean, are you telling me is it so crazy that he would get that he would have a boyfriend and adopt these kids? Is it so much more insane than a gay man living in the closet and having a wife and having sex with her and producing children with her? Is that so nuts? Okay, so there's probably more sex involved.
Fair.
Is it like? Isn't it just like that on steroids? Like, is it so bonkers? And that's where gay people should be, by the way, in the closet praying to get better.
Well, I think that's it for me. I'm kind of done. I don't even know whether YouTube will let me upload this because it contains so much just plain footage of the interview. But yeah, I'm done. He has self-hatred because of his religion. I knew that's what he had done, when he tried coming out as no longer being gay anymore. I knew that's what it was based on, and I can see that it's based on that still. And he thinks gay people should be in the closet. They should be chastised and removed from society's view. And I very much disagree. So, anyway, just saying.